very important part of the cryptocurrency revolution is this concept of decentralization. I am fortunate because about 30 years ago I realized that decentralization is a very important force in the world, and always be on the side of decentralization if you want to win. That's how I've really made money in my life. Let me go through, because it was 30 years ago that I realized. I started with this. If you look at the structure of governments, hundreds of years ago, they were all dictatorships and kingdoms. And I mean, I don't really have to draw it. I think we all know. You know, you got the king and queen, and then you get the sons, and then it comes down. And it was very structured from the top down. Then, in the 1700s, you know, around in England and Amsterdam, they came up with the idea of a more flattening out the government. And to make a long story short, when the United States started, now you'd say, well, we still have a central government, but the central government is broken up three separate branches, right? You've got the executive, president, Congress, and then the judicial system. And not only that, but the president comes from voting, so it's sort of, it's not here. Who's next is directly comes from the center, or the center chooses who becomes king, whereas now it can come, as we've seen with Trump, the new president can come all the way from the bottom. I don't know that he's from the bottom, but you know, from out of nowhere, all of a sudden you do control on the top, but you don't have complete control because you still have Congress, which comes from everywhere. So I think you get the point. But the important point of this, I mean, if you look at a long-term structure here, the United States government, you know, created, you know, let's say 1776, within a couple hundred years went from being a little startup company to the largest, wealthiest country in the world by huge amounts. In 1950, the United States, after World War II, owned 50% of the world's gold and was manufacturing like 50% of all products. And this is not based on population, right? But it was still a relatively small country. So that's the power of decentralization. And we also saw this with the economies. And again, you know, it's a little different now because the battle is over. But when I was in college, you know, again, 30 years ago, I majored in economics, and there was still battles going on about the value of a centrally controlled economy. The communist countries, with their central planners, would lay out the 5-year plan, and the government would send down their orders, how much to produce, what to make, and it all came from the center. And there were people still arguing that this is better than the free market, where anybody, wherever, can just create something and start selling it and grow and go up to the top. Well, guess what happened? The free market, decentralized economies grew not just faster than communists. The communist countries collapsed, and the freest countries became the wealthiest, again, by huge margins. So when I put this together, again, 30 years ago, I was like, wow, it really makes a huge difference. I want to go in the direction of where things are decentralizing, and you can see it almost everywhere. Even in, you know, socially, right? It used to be the, you know, in the family, the father's at the top, and then, or as Ali G says, first you have a man, and then you have a boy, and then you have a horse, and then you have a woman, and then you have a Jew. It's Ali G, something like that. Make sure you watch Ali G if you haven't. Okay, but anyways, even that, in socially, we're all equal opportunities, and we have a better life. Now, having this philosophy is what allowed me, when I saw the web in 1995, I immediately knew. Because instead of, so there were two areas with the web. So the web, as you know, is just a decentralized platform. Anybody can upload information. As opposed to, if you wanted to share information, it really disrupted a lot of things. But the two that caught my attention back in '95 was, first of all, just production of content. Like this, I have my little YouTube channel. I don't need anyone's anyone's permission. I don't even have anyone here helping me. I just go out and make it. If my videos are popular, I rise to the top. In the past, I mean, if I wanted to do this 20, 30 years ago, I would have had to have convinced there were a few players. When I grew up as a child, we had, I don't know, there were like maybe 8 channels on TV. That was it. So if you wanted to create content, you had to convince one of those 8. And there were other places in the world where they only had 2 channels, so it allowed the spread of information. And also, my interest on the web was mail order, right? So in the past, if you wanted to advertise your business, you had to, it was very expensive. If you want to advertise to the world, you had to print up and mail to everybody. Very expensive. With the web, you just throw it up there, and if people like it, and I started selling sex toys, they were a little hard to find. They sort of spread virally. Then also, I created an affiliate program. So the web was another form of decentralization. I created an affiliate program, and what was that? Instead of me at the center determining who to advertise to, I just put out a bulletin, so to speak, or I created this program where you get just take your own site, brand it how you want, and you do the advertising, and I'll pay you if you make money. So instead of me, the genius, sending out information where I want, I just created a program that anybody could take and advertise, wherever they wanted. So, part of it was that it was a new, and not that regular advertising doesn't work, but, I created this decentralized system, and as a result, grew really quickly. And then, finally, Bitcoin. When I saw Bitcoin, when I first saw it, I was a little bit like, well, nobody's actually using it to spend money. And the technology is certainly hard to understand when especially when I first saw it. But I was like, but what is it? Right now, the system of money is you have the central bank, which sort of gives rules and liquidity to some major banks, and then those are supposed to spread it out to the, either smaller banks or through the economy, and it's centrally controlled. Now all of a sudden you have Bitcoin where there is no central control, period. And so using this rule of thumb, I said, you know what? I'll take a flyer on that and buy a little Bitcoin. And now what we have is, never mind just Bitcoin, we have just a suite of tools that allows us to create decentralized organizations that can do almost anything. And the possibilities are endless. And so the bottom line is here. Make sure you understand the concept of decentralization, where it's different. Start looking at it around your life. When you look at things, like I said, you can almost apply it to anything. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but that's why also with the cryptocurrency investments, are you investing one that's actually decentralized, or they're just using cryptography? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think in the end, the real excitement, the rapid growth, the things that revolutionize, change the world, and grow like the way free markets and democracies destroyed communism and dictatorships, that sort of dramatic revolution comes with the aid of decentralization. So pay attention to it.